Hello kids, my name is Morgan Chester and this is Crash Course World Religions. Today we'll be talking about a random religion you've probably never heard of, because I know I haven't, Zoroastrianism. Today we're going to talk about 6 major parts that'll hopefully put Zoroastrianism together into a puzzle for you. So, let's go to the thought bubble.
So Zoroastrianism started around 1600 BCE when it was brought to Persia by the founder Zarathustra. Then, in 600 BCE, it was now widely known in Persia and the Iran area, and the first scriptures called the Gathas were starting to be written. Then moving on to 220 to 650 CE, the Sassanids converted to Zoroastrianism, which created a Sassanid Zoroastrianism empire. Then in 651 CE, this empire falls, and there's a lot of persecution of those who believe in Zoroastrianism, so the religion starts to sort of go on like a downfall. Then 400 CE, the Zoroastrians that remain after this persecution escape to India, which is where most of these people, there's 200,000 Zoroastrianism believers left, and most of them live in India now. So then in 1381 CE, thousands were killed by a man named Timur Lenk in Iran, which also led to the decline of the religion. And then by 1640 to 1720 CE, those remaining in Iran mostly were forced to convert to Islam if they were still remaining in the Iran or Afghanistan area, which led to a lot of spreading out of Zoroastrianism. Then in 1878, as those believers started to migrate towards the United States, the first temple, called Parsi Hill, was built in the U.S. in Florence, Arizona. And then the most recent thing to happen was the Iranian Revolution, which in Iran caused persecution and mass immigration to India, Europe, and New Zealand, and this was of the Zoroastrianism.
Zoroastrianism started in the Persia region, which is now modern-day Iran. Throughout the centuries, as Zoroastrianism has sort of become a concept of conflict when it comes up with other religions that have moved into the area, such as Islam, those who believe in Zoroastrianism have had to migrate to places such as India, which holds the highest concentration of these believers, and Australia, the US, New Zealand, but 24,000 of them have remained in Iran today. Alright. Zoroastrianism was founded by a man named Zarathustra, or in the Greek language, it's more commonly known as Zoroaster. So he was preordained at birth by Ahura Mazda, the god of Zoroastrianism, to release the world from Angra Mainyu. Angra Mainyu is Zoroastrianism's version of like the opposite of God or a devil sort of figure. So his mother was named Dugdao and his father was Purushuspra, and he had 4 brothers, 2 younger and 1 older. As he was predestined at birth to do great things, but it wasn't until he was 30 years old and he experienced a revelation and he saw a shining being in the distance who turned out to be Avohu Mana. And he saw a vision of the 7 Amasha Spenshas.
This is a picture of the founder of Zoroastrianism, Zarathustra.
After this revelation, he went throughout Persia to spread the word of the revelation he had heard about. So in Zoroastrianism, they have several beliefs, but there's 5 core beliefs that really sum up their religion. So they have a supreme and universal God, whose name is Ahura Mazda, and then they also believe in a duality of existence, which is where the concept of good versus evil, light versus dark, and God versus devil sort of thing develops in later religions. A third is that they recognize polytheism even though it's a monotheistic religion. So how they recognize polytheism is in their god, Ahura Mazda's different personalities and good qualities come out in like slightly varying people. A 4th belief is the belief in the afterlife. And then their 5th belief is that they believe in divine creation. So Zoroastrianism is very different from other religions, as it doesn't really have a place of worship that people go to every week to pay their respects to their god. Zoroastrianism is much more focused on the individual than the entire group, so most people pay their respects to their god within their house and in like a special room in their home. But when Zoroastrianism is practiced as a group, they go to what is called a fire temple, where they do have priests. Alright.
This is an example of the fire temples that Zoroastrians worship in. This is one of the most important symbols in Zoroastrianism. This guy is called the Faravarhar, and the three wings that you can see on the side, the topmost wing closest to the guy represents good thoughts, the middle wing represents good words, and the bottom wing represents good actions. And then likewise, the little tail that is underneath the guy in the figure represents the top one is bad thoughts, the middle is bad words, and the final is bad actions. This is a picture of what's called the eternal fire, which you can see kept by the priests at the fire temples.
So Zoroastrianism has a sacred text, or a collection of sacred texts, which are collectively called the Avestas. And now the Avestas are arranged in different orders depending, but mostly they're either by the dialect they were written in or by usage, because the Avestas are very different from other religions where they weren't all originally written in the same language. They were slowly written over time as Zoroastrianism developed. The Yasna is the primary text that they do use in Zoroastrianism, and the most important part that can be found in the Avestas is the 5 Gathas, which are like 5 main parts of Zoroastrianism. Alright. Go. So as I said previously, Zoroastrianism influenced the major religions that we still see in our lives today, especially those of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So the different influences you can see in those 3 religions are, of course, monotheism, which Zoroastrianism is one of the first known monotheistic religions. Another is the opposites that I was talking about earlier that are in their 5 core beliefs. So this can really be seen in the concept of heaven versus hell in those religions. Another one is the concept of people having free will. A fourth is that there will be future resurrection of the dead on Judgment Day, which is also in Zoroastrianism. I'm Morgan Chedester, and thanks for watching this week's Crash Course World Religions. A special shout out to Kylie Ann Stone for filming this video, Mr. McDowell for teaching world religions, and of course the Zoroastrianism.